Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Beyond The Barclay with me, Jez Davies. I'm joined with former Derham sixth form pupil, Mr. Morgan Hewitt. How are you, sir?
I'm very well. Why'd you bring that up for, Jez?
I don't know, actually. I just might have a bit of a premonition that our guest tonight might have gone to the same sixth form as you.
Hang on. Is that you, Morgan? Wow. This is a reunion. I mean, how many years ago are we talking now? So 25 years? Well, we're giving away our ages now. It's like 5 years ago, something like that, 10 years ago.
Yeah, you still look the same, mate. You still got that youthful vigour.
That's incredible. I mean, yeah, about sort of 5 minutes before we came on, Morgan finally joined us after collecting a delivery box, I believe. Jumped on and was like, it's Phil.
Well, Phil spotted me first.
Yeah, true, actually.
I did. Yeah, the best people started at Derham sixth form, put it that way.
There we go.
I don't know about that, but yeah, when I'm still reeling from it because it's like 25 years ago, and I just remember you giving you recommendations for music. So Rage Against the Machine albums. I think you were you into Pixies, or was it the other guy who was into Pixies?
Oh, I know who you're talking about now. Yeah,
Darren,
I know exactly the other guy you're talking about.
Darren.
No.
Darren.
Oh, well, there was a Darren as well. Yeah, there'll be Mitch and Darren. Yeah, they were both into metal and stuff, and also, they're quite eclectic. Mitch, but you got me into Rage Against the Machine, and still classics to this day.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And Craig David at the time.
Yeah. I'm sure everyone's guessed who we've got on this week because it's one of the more familiar voices that we hear on a Saturday, Mr. Phil Daley from BBC Radio Norfolk. We usually introduce our guests at this point, but I think we've already done it, Phil. So perhaps you'd like to sort of just add what I've just said there. What do you do?
As well as being most known for my time at Derham sixth form, also the sports editor at BBC Radio Norfolk and the host of Saturday Afternoon. Sometimes coverage on scrimmage, and very occasionally the odd commentary popping up as well. But work with Rob and Chris. We obviously cover Norwich City, which is the reason I'm here.
Fantastic. Yeah. And you mentioned obviously the game this weekend against Leeds. This obviously is going to go out a little bit later in the year, but you're going to be commentating on that one. I think you've done it. I know you've done it a few times before, but just talk to us a little bit about that experience and what that means to you.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, doing a football commentary is like no other thing, and I think the perception is it's really easy. You know, we all follow Norwich City, we all follow our team, we all know the players inside out. It should be quite easy to describe what's happening. But in reality, it happens so quickly, and it's really different doing it on the radio as it is doing it on the TV. Like quite often, if you watch TV commentaries, there's loads of big gaps. They can just get away with saying a player's name and then another player's name because the pictures fill in the detail, and there's not too much detail on how a goal is scored. It's just, oh, he's got it. It's a goal. Oh, wow, what a goal. Well, where did the ball come from? Where did it go? So radio commentary has
Where did it come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
I was literally just thinking that.
Sorry, Phil, carry on.
No. So it's scary for me because I haven't done one for probably a year, maybe.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest problems is Chris Gorham being so good. And I'm not saying that we don't realise, I think, because we only listen to our football commentator most of the time. Yeah, we might hear some other games that we're not particularly invested in and other commentaries, but you don't have that same connection, do you? But when you hear Norwich City commentaries and you hear Chris doing it, he is just so good. He's so on it. He's a really tough act to follow. And also, I've been told, actually, your voices sound quite similar.
Yeah.
Some people mistake him for me, nearly always the other way around, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course.
But it means that you are almost doing what he would do, but it's going to be inferior. So it's quite difficult. He is such a tough act to follow. So I'm a bit nervous, but as long as I do all my prep and try and get into the zone a bit, because it's just, as I say, like doing no other thing. You've got to be like a fish, you're just constantly next thing.
Of course. No,
channel your inner Doom 6 IT computer room. Do you remember that? Do you remember that online game we used to played called Planetarian? Do you remember that?
Oh, now you've said the name, it rings a bell, but I couldn't.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what I was doing now.
I just can't believe it's you. I don't like hearing you and seeing you now. I'm like, I hear you like pretty much every weekend, and I'm like, I'm like, viewers, all 5 of them, I'm blown away.
No, definitely. I think you touched on a few points there. I nearly called you Chris, Phil, about yeah, I can imagine about obviously the visual aspect of watching a game on TV. And you're right. You know, I've heard other broadcasters who I shan't name for other teams, and they're very biased towards their team. They're not as good as Chris. It sounds like they're doing a fan podcast. No disrespect to anyone that does one of those. But Chris is excellent, and he can paint a picture. And I think that it's when I listen to him on the occasions when I'm not watching the game, I can almost visualize what's happened, and then I'll go and watch it and I'll go, well, that's exactly how Chris has explained it. It's incredible. It's such an art.
Yeah, it really is. And you know, obviously time spent and time served doing it. You know, Chris has been doing it a long time now, so you know, he's learned from his mistakes. But you can also go too far the other way. And, you know, when you're actually doing it, I remember going through a period where Norwich were just so boringly slow building up from the back. And you just felt like, as a commentator, all I was saying was, and one centre-half passes it to the other and looks to the left and then passes it back. And you felt like, it's like, I'm bored saying it. But the other thing is, it's quite hard to dress up a boring game as well. Like, you have to be honest and you have to sort of try and bring it to life. But if it's a crap game, you know, call it exactly how it is, because you're sort of trying to be honest with it as well.
Yeah, putting lipstick on a pig, if you will. I can't remember what I was going to say now. I had a valid point, but it's gone.
This is going well. This is going well
so far.
I think as well, I'll just obviously expand on that as well, is the fact that when you've got someone that co-coms with you, that must be quite good to have someone, because I think back in the day, I never remember, I think until Neil Adams got involved, Roy Waller used to just literally be on his own. And I think nowadays you see it with every single commentary, really, don't you? But it must be good having that someone that's got that Norwich connection to sort of bounce off, I suppose.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. And some of the guys we get to work with are just, you know, they're just incredible to sit next to and sort of chat to, because you turn into a bit of a fanboy as well. Because these are players that you used to know and love as a youngster, and now you're sort of sitting there talking to them. I mean, we'll probably talk about it a bit later on, but you know, working with people like Jamie Curitan, who, when I was getting into Norwich and really like enjoying it, he was one of my heroes. You know, he was this little guy who couldn't stop scoring goals, and here you are sat next to him talking with him, and even some of the guys that might not necessarily have been at the very top of their game, like Simon Lappin. He's often referenced as being one of the nicest men in football, and he really is. But he also can just analyse a game so quickly, so well, you know, and pass that information on. Because while we might be the gob on the stick most of the time, I don't know about you guys, what level you played at. You know, I played at Sunday League and never really got into Saturdays because of my job. But you know, they can just work it out so quickly and see things that you just don't see as a fan.
Yeah.
And you've obviously got to make it interesting, because, again, I don't know about you guys, but constantly talking about formations and how players are changing and developing and fitting into roles, I find quite boring. But it's an important part of the game if you use it in the right way. So, you're trying to get what they see and their sort of, it's just, you know, their knowledge and detail of what it's like to have actually been playing the game.
I mean, so the point I was going to bring up was, me and Jez were fortunate enough to be at Carrow Road for some of the women's teams games, and we tried to do like commentary on it, like live. And I mean, it's another level. We've got the team sheet in front of us, and Jez is like coached women's teams. He's gone on about this a few times on this pod. I haven't done anything like that, so I was just like, someone's passing to the striker and they're moving forward. I'm like, what am I talking about?
I mean,
what am I talking about?
it depends like where you are. So we're now on the gantry at Carrow Road, which is a great position to see like the whole pitch. Whereas some of the games you go to, I mean, I did a game a few years ago at the Riverside, and we were up. You're really high. You're right at the back of the stand, and it was foggy, and you're kind of like trying to see the far side of the pitch, sort of going towards the corner flag. It sort of could have been anyone. You know, you can't see a number, especially in certain positions when they're sort of almost wrestling with each other to try and get the ball. You've got no idea. So you sort of go, right, who's most likely to be in that position? Right, is it our right back? Yeah, it's probably going to be him. Maybe, and you sort of, especially for the away teams, because, you know, we sort of can recognise most Norwich players relatively quickly. Well, again, I don't pretend to know that much about the rest of every other team in the league, and especially if you go, you know, Leeds. I mean, I just don't follow the Premier League this season because Norwich are in the Championship. I've been focusing on the Championship, and I haven't even been focusing on the Championship. I've been focusing on Norwich. And my job is actually quite varied. So I could tell you a little bit about Wroxham, Kings Lynn, Galston, you know, all these other teams. The Premier League, you know, who knows? I know Daniel Farker's there. I can name you maybe 3 or 4 players who you would know because they've been around a while, but I don't know them brilliantly. Had a bad position, had a bit of fog, had some rain, you know, had tiredness from driving all the way there. You know, it makes it a bit more difficult.
Yeah. No, I completely appreciate that. And I think that, you know, hats off to yourself and Chris, Rob, Adi, Coop, part of the channel. Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, even Jez, like, you know, you did a great job at those the women's matches that we sort of covered. I'm just there blathering along, going, I have no idea what I'm saying. I'm just here for the shits and gigs, you know. But no, yeah, it's a real skill, and Gorham is you know up there. You know, you tune in on I imagine some of our all 5 of our listeners or viewers who watch this, you know, they tune in every Saturday and they know they're going to get. You know, and I think Chris as well, like Chris Gorham as well, like he's got to do it almost every week and turn up. He can be sick, he can be slightly hungover from, I don't know, from a wedding or some shit like that, but you know, he's there every Saturday doing that, and I just think it's a crazy skill to have, and we're lucky. Just getting a cup of tea. We're lucky we're lucky to have that, I think. And so, you know, again, hats off to you guys for providing great commentary that there's amateur hour in me and Jez would never even be able to like hold down.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know how you guys feel about our summarizers as well, but we've obviously been through periods over the years where we've had like the same summarizer that's there every week. Obviously, Neil was the long sort of stand-in. We had Paul McVeigh for a couple of seasons, but actually, I quite like the fact that we have quite a variety these days.
Yeah.
And
great.
while there's something nice about having one person, because you know they've seen every game and you can kind of go, well, we talked about this last time, so let's move it on this time. I actually quite like having the fresh perspective from different people coming in.
Different areas.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, obviously there are some that you prefer to others. That's human nature. We're all going to, you know, be attracted to certain people's views or voices, normally when they reflect our own, right? But I really enjoy it when you get someone that you kind of go, okay, yeah, maybe they weren't the biggest name at Norwich City. I don't really know what they're doing now. And then all of a sudden they're like, so Che Wilson is one for me. He is fantastic. And I've had the pleasure of, you know, doing a couple of commentaries alongside him, and he just knows his stuff so well. And he's one of those people that you wouldn't have gone, oh, brilliant, you know, with all due respect, as far as the Norwich perspective is concerned, can't wait to work with him. He's, you know, my hero, but he's fantastic to work with. He's so good.
Yeah, I mean, we just on that, we had I don't know where the sort of the historical release of this episode, but we had Elliot Bennett on one of our podcasts recently, and you know, it was, I'm going to be brutally honest, I didn't expect it to go as well as it did, because I thought to myself, I was like, Bennett was a great player for us, you know, again, like a decent player, no sort of Grant Holt, Houlihan, whatever. And I kind of didn't know really what to expect, but me and Jez afterwards, we came away from the episode and we're like, wow, like this guy's like he's got it. He's got this kind of like just this ability to analyze and deliver knowledge, and it was a fantastic podcast. I'm really happy with that episode.
He's really honest as well. He's, you know, one of the beauty,
you
know, because you also get this dilemma sometimes of players who maybe still work for the club, and to be honest, not so much anymore, but maybe a few years ago, players who work for the club maybe couldn't give their 100% honest answer because they were probably concerned that they wouldn't be employed by the club anymore, you know, behind the scenes doing whatever, whether it's legends or whatever. Whereas, you know, players who don't work for the club currently can, it doesn't mean they need to slate the club, but they can just 100% be honest in every situation.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah, definitely. Right, we've talked for 16 minutes and haven't answered any of the pre-planned questions. I think
are you getting sweaty, Jez?
No, I can hear it. I can hear a siren in one of your rooms. I don't think it's coming from mine.
It's not mine.
No, I'm in London, so what do you expect?
That's why then. You got a window open or something? He's going to go and close his window. There we are. So that's quite an official little chair, that, isn't it? Look at that. There we go. Right, I've done it again. Phil, hi. I'm going to leave these little mistakes in as well. You've covered Norwich City through some highs and lows. I'm reading the questions, by the way. What's been the most defining moment for you personally reporting on the club?
I mean, it's probably an obvious one, really, but it's got to be the playoff final where we won at Wembley. Because, and for me personally, it's because, you know, I remember sitting in Wembley Stadium. You know, we were there 4 hours before anything happened. But I remember we did loads of build-up. We did stuff on Wembley Way. We all sort of contributed in different ways. But when the programme starts, you fire in the jingle and it gets fired back from base and you're just hearing it. And I'd written my preamble, which is, you know, I write something slightly different every week, but it eventually is quite short and sharp. You know, hello and welcome to BBC Radio Norfolk, Saturday Sport, Phil Daley with you until 6 o'clock tonight. And I can't remember exactly what I said, but I remember being, you know, hello and welcome to Wembley Stadium as Norwich City try and make their way to the Premier League. And as I was saying it, I sort of got choked up just a tiny bit, like you wouldn't notice to listen to.
Yeah.
But I was getting sort of like chills down my neck. And as I say, I sort of almost felt like I could cry. And it's because, you know, for someone who, you know, I'm a Norwich fan, I'm very proud to work for Radio Norfolk, for the BBC. And here I am at Wembley Stadium, like presenting for a chance for my football team to get promoted to the Premier League, you know, and you talk about all the money that goes into it and everything. When you've got it written down as a journalist and as a fan, it's like that's my cup final, isn't it? It really is. Sort of, but it's true. But like in my broadcasting career, what am I likely to do that's better than that?
Yeah,
and
it's amazing.
We obviously, you know, the story that happened and how it unfolded, and you know, it was just an incredible day, and it was so different from a fan's day, obviously, because we didn't get to go and sit and have a few beers and cheer and like really, really enjoy it like that. We did it in our own way. But for a broadcaster to be at Wembley and to be able to say that about your team, you know, there's people you go and do World Cups and stuff. I mean, I haven't, but other people go and do World Cups and do other teams. Even if you do a World Cup final between, you know, whoever, Brazil and France, it's not Norwich, is it? Yeah. It's not your team.
And I think that's the thing in it, Phil, because I think, you know, we hadn't been to Wembley since 1985. Obviously, we had the playoff final, which was at Cardiff in 2003, 2002, 2003, whatever year it was. But it's not, I mean, for me, obviously, as a fan, it wasn't the same as to playing at Wembley. And I remember, this is going to sound really silly, but I went to go and watch Linkin Park last year at Wembley. And I just remember walking up Wembley Way, and I don't think I've been back since, because I generally can't remember going back for a game or anything.
I haven't.
And it was just, I walked into the stadium, I was like, yeah, we did something here. And it was sort of like hairs on the back of your neck sort of stood up and all of this. And
absolutely.
Yeah, it was a great day.
I've been really lucky to cover some other things at Wembley. And I've been pitch side and I've been up right to the top of the gantry and been able to look down and kind of been in the bows and does. But, you know, that wasn't for my team. So it kind of, it's work. You know, it's so strange, and like you've almost got to be careful when you talk about it, because it's a job, and it becomes work sometimes. It doesn't matter what you do for a living and how much you love it. Sometimes it's bloody work. You know,
Yeah.
it's I've got to go again, or the kids are sick or whatever. I've got to try and get myself up. But those moments, you just kind of go like, how much do I need to pay you to be able to do that?
Yeah, it's rewarding, isn't it? It's rewarding.
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember the day, like, I mean, I think you know, there are cup finals like League Two, League One at Wembley, but I mean, I think what stood out for me that day was it was every tier was full. Like half the stadium was yellow and green, half the stadium was red and white, and all the tiers were full. And rather than like in League Two or League One, and no disrespect for those clubs who end up at Wembley in the final, like usually the upper tiers are closed. So it was an enormity that it was like Carrow Road is, you know, when it's full, like you're like, wow. But this was fucking Wembley, you know. It was like it was literally yellow and green everywhere, red and white everywhere. And I think even to this day, I still I can't really get my head around it. It still feels really surreal.
Yeah.
That I remember, I've got photos on my phone that are like, I mean, it's a long time ago now, but like I took photos and I look back on it now and I'm like, how did this even happen? And I was a punter, and you know, you yourself, Phil, you've got to balance out being a fanboy and doing your job and not getting like completely overwhelmed. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how you did it.
Well, there's a difference. I mean, the beauty of local radio and the way the BBC works is, right, we're not unbiased when it comes to Norwich City. We are, you know, that's not how it works. It's like, as far as journalistically is concerned, we are, but we are, you know, the best example is always Norwich haven't got the ball as opposed to Leeds have. You know, that's always our perspective, is what does this mean to Norwich? What does this mean to Norwich? You know, even if we'd gone on and lost that, it would be like, oh, what damage could this do to Norwich City not winning? You know, as opposed to, oh, wow, what a moment for Middlesbrough. You know, so we're always looking at it from a Norwich perspective. Yeah. So we are allowed to go mad a little bit. I mean, and it's all to do with what jobs you're assigned on the day. I mean, I don't mind saying that, you know, I'm quite often the grey man, if you like, at Radio Norfolk, because I'm the sort of glue that holds everyone else together. But that's my job, and I'm quite happy with that. You know, it's not about me going on at 2:00 and being like, everybody look at me, don't worry about Chris Gore and Rob Butler. You know, this is all about this. It's my show. And by the way, everyone, I'm the sports editor, so I'm actually in charge. That's not how it works. It is my job is to kind of almost keep tossing these balls up, and hopefully the other two can smash them. Because that's what everyone's there for. Goram's there to do an amazing commentary, and he's a great journalist as well. So when we get the chance to speak to the players and manager afterwards, he does that. And Rob's job is to go and make sure the fans have got their voice and how it's heard. And because he's such a big fan, you know, he can do that with his eyes closed. But, you know, actually at Wembley, you know, I was there speaking to, we had 2 pundits with us that day, one of which was Jamie Curitan, who had his hair green. We've still got some of the green on our headphones from where he put it on and it had rubbed off, and we've still got the headphones, and every time you look at them, they've got the little green on. You're like, that's from the cup. And you know, the good thing was we were able to be like, you know, how do the fans feel? Rob Butler's with them, you know, or he was able to go on the pitch afterwards. I mean, he's got a great selfie of him and Nathan Redmond. And I think we ribbed him about it afterwards. He's told this story a million times, but you know, he was like, Bradley Johnson, I love you. You know, he just couldn't help himself. Yeah. And this is not an impartial BBC journalist, is it? But there are times to be impartial, and when your team is just won at Wembley is not one of them.
Yeah, no, I mean it's amazing, and I still like. I mean, I think sometimes I'm a bit cynical, and it's funny. I said to Jez earlier on today on a voice note, I was like, oh, I'm so tired of hearing about that Wembley win, and I did hands down.
Today, that's the thing I've come
hands
out
down.
about.
I said that to Jez on a voice note earlier, but then when you bring it up and you bring your perspective to it, I then remember, like, you know, I then think about it more intrinsically as to my experience of that day.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, like, Woody, who always gets fucking mentioned, he'll never come on this show, but he's had more mentions than anyone I've ever met. Woody and his other mate, they couldn't get tickets to the Norwich City end, so they sat in the borough end as Norwich fans. So
they managed that.
I don't know. I think it's one of the best things that is one of the best stories ever. But you'll hear that on your birthday, Jez. Should I move on to question 2?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
So, how has the relationship between BBC Radio Norfolk and the Norwich fan base evolved in the age of podcasts, fan media, and social platforms?
How has our relationship changed? I mean, that's more of a question for you guys than it is for us, me really, because, you know, it's kind of your perspective and what you think of the BBC. And, you know, there's lots of talk about how the BBC needs to change. You know, there's sort of license free, or the charter renewal is not far away, how they're going to do things differently. And, you know, from an internal perspective, we need to sort of modernize, if you like, a bit. And, you know, the BBC is a big beast. I can only talk about my little piece of it. We try and make sure that there is a lot more availability of our content in that sort of arena to make sure other people can get hold of it. But I sort of think if you're talking about fan channels and stuff like yours, I mean, I think what's great about the technology now is you guys can be broadcasters, can't you? Like, you don't need to have this big swanky studio in the forum to be on TV or on the radio. You can just go as we are now. You can do it from your own bedroom or whatever. And I think that's amazing, really, because it was kind of a bit exclusive that the only people who could do it were the people who were at the BBC or ITV or whatever. So the fact that you can go on and build your own sort of infrastructure and fan base and speak to the people you want to speak to, I think is great. And that works the same for players, right? And you were talking earlier about some players you were able to get on your podcast and talk to. Well, since, you know, social media and everything that's gone with it, they're then sort of available. There is a way to find them, as opposed to, are you going to speak to the press officer at the club who's just going to say no because he's had 10,000, you know, similar requests in the last 2 weeks? Well, actually, if you can speak to them direct and they say yes, why not? So, you know, it's great.
I mean, I still think that. I mean, from my perspective, I still don't think it's weird. It's weird. Like, in my head, obviously, BBC Radio Norfolk is an institution, and then you've obviously got the EDP lot. And then you go wider afield with regards to BBC Sport and some of their amazing Phil McNulty. You guys will probably know from the BBC. And then, you know, The Guardian. And I understand exactly what you're saying, Phil. Like, for me, this whole thing still feels very ethereal and a bit weird. And I'm still me and Jez are still kind of getting our heads around it. You're right. Like, this is fleet of foot. We don't have to. It's not a behemoth. We can do what we want when we want, as and when we want. We've got ideas. We can do whatever that within reason, whatever we want to do. But I still kind of feel a little bit like we've got the utmost respect for what BBC Radio Norfolk do, what the EDP do, what My Football Writer do. You know, to me, I'm still very, me and Jez are still very much like we are. I feel like when we like speaking to you, hearing your voice now on this podcast, I'm like, shit, that's that guy I hear on the radio like every week. And yeah,
I went to school with though.
I went to school with.
Completely forgot about until you jumped on this podcast. Yeah.
I'm still like, what the fuck what are we doing here? You know, and I get what you're saying. I think it's really cool that me and Jez have that ability to do that. And also shout out to Bleed Norwich and Canary guys. Along Come Norwich, those other great podcasts that are in our realm. But it is, I still feel a bit like a fanboy. I mean, and I don't know if that's something that, Jez, you kind of feel like.
I do, but I also think that we offer something very different, where we allow people to come on and tell their stories. And Phil can do that on Radio Norfolk, but it's got other things that he needs to do, quite rightly. He's got to talk about Kings Lynn and Norwich and various other, he's got to, make sure the show's running smoothly. He can't sit there and talk about his own personal stories and journey to get to where he is. And I think that's what we offer is a, very, very different to perhaps some of our competitors, where they talk about the game that's coming up, or we do that, sure, but that's what I've always seen about us, is the fact that we give people that avenue to come and speak about Norwich, but speak about themselves. And because we want to listen, we want to hear, and the theory is that our fan base want to hear that as well.
I think that one of the biggest differences is we know, don't we, it's a game of opinion, but most of the time, 99% of the time, well, probably not 99%, but somewhere along that, the BBC especially, and obviously the EDP do it slightly differently because they've got different rules that they're governed by, and a different way of doing it. But 99% of the time we're doing it about fact. And we're sort of, no matter what I think, and most people haven't got a clue what I think, they'll have their opinion of what they think I think, but that's not my job. I will say, Philippe Clement, who I've been to see today, said this. You can make your own mind up whether you believe him, whether it's been the right thing to say, the wrong thing to say, and we can kind of talk around it a little bit, but it has to be, based around fact. Whereas, as a fan, you don't have to. If you think that, you're entitled to think it, and you can go on and say it to as many people as you like. I can't say, and I'm literally using this as an example, made up. This is not what I actually think. But if I said, well, I spoke to Philippe Clement the other day and he said he's injured, don't believe him. Think it's absolute nonsense. He's made it up. He just doesn't rate him, so he doesn't want to play him. I can't say it, and I don't think that, obviously. Don't clip that and use that.
No, don't worry.
But, do you know what I mean? But you guys can. And actually, if that's what you think, go and say it. Spread the word. Like,
Jez has done that. Haven't you, Jez? Can you punt your own thing that you put out the other day, Jez, about Philippe Clement? You've got go on. You'll love this. His head's gonna go so big that it'll fill the screen up. Go on, Jez.
So are you talking about the X thing? Yeah. So I put on X the other day, Phil. Is he, Philippe Clement, the greatest manager we have ever had? And I mean, the reason I put that is simply because of his CV prior to coming to Norwich and how he has turned this football club around from where we were previously. We were down, as far as I was concerned, we're under the previous manager. We're now, we're mid-table. What is it? 11 points off playoffs, but it's what he's going to achieve. For me, it's what he's going to achieve next season, the season later. I can see. I'm not saying I've got a crystal ball, but if everything's aligning how it is, and as long as someone else doesn't pinch him, the sky's the limit.
Tell Phil how many people.
Because
is it interactive? I don't know. So Phil, like, I have no idea about social media. There's people that take care of that side of stuff on this podcast that aren't me, because it's not my thing, right? I don't like it, but I'm aware that it has to exist and we have to do whatever. Go on, Jez. Tell Phil how many interactions it's had, so you can get all sexy about it.
Where are we going with this?
I don't know. It's one of our tangents. It doesn't matter.
Hang on. We have had. Oh god.
You have had.
Oh, because it's on the Beyond The Barclay one. 32,000 views, which is probably nothing compared to some of the stuff that the Radio Norfolk. Yeah, but it's it's interesting because we put something like that out where it's a very not meant to be an inflammatory question. It's just a question. Whereas we put an episode out which is a really important one close to our hearts, and you get like 200 views. It's just the beauty. It's the beauty of social media, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because there are also a lot of people, and I include all media in this, not fan channels if you like, but who are just looking to get clicks the whole time. Therefore, you need to put something that's, I mean, one thing that frustrates me sometimes, I suppose, is when, so I go to a press conference. Me and Rob sort of almost take it in turns, if you like. And there's like nearly always 3 or 4 people in the room. So there's the EDP, there's Radio Norfolk, sometimes Look East, sometimes ITV. That's it. And by the time I get back, I send the audio back. I normally just typed a bit up and send it off to BBC Sport. By the time I get back to the office, there'll be a dozen other channels that have ripped off what has been written or punted out, either by the club, by the EP or us, and kind of like change the context of it and put some sexy top line on it. And it's just kind of not true. And they weren't there, they don't know, and they've made it up to just get clicks. And it's fine. Like, I don't compete with them, and I'm fortunate to work for I'm working for a broadcaster that doesn't have to directly compete, so I am grateful that I don't have to do that. So I understand why some people do, but it can be frustrated when you look at things and you're like, well, that's just complete nonsense. But there is like just enough truth in it to have been able to punt it out. Do you know what I mean?
So Jez is Jez is basically part of the problem then.
No. But that's quite a good. That's like flirting with it. That's the sort of that's quite clever, isn't it? Because you've got to flirt with these things to kind of go, well, where it's going. Because I don't. Again, talk about from fact. Then you can't argue with it actually. So currently, but that's like saying someone comes in for 10 games, wins 10 games, and leaves. Was he the greatest Norwich manager? Because he's got the best win rate.
It's like Sam Allardyce at England. The 100% win ratio.
100% record. But that's why, like, I would say he might go on to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's to be fair. A lot of the comments underneath was, Tulsa's put absolutely love Big Phil, but I feel like Rob Butler here on Canary Call reading that tweet.
Down like him.
I absolutely love Big Phil, but until he gets us promoted to the Premier League and keeps us there, he can't be mentioned in the same breath as Paul Lambert, who is our greatest ever manager, in his opinion. Paul Lambert was great. Someone that's with a Twitter handle, which I'm sure would never be used on Radio Norfolk on a Saturday afternoon, Philip Clement's shagging yellows. Does he have the ability to be? Can you imagine Rob Butler saying on that on Canary Call?
Is that Big Phil's official one, or is that someone?
I think it might be. It might be.
Does he have the ability to be? 100% yes. Is he the right now? Nowhere near. So, it's divided opinion.
You remind me of Dear Deirdre from The Sun. Just reading stuff.
Dear Deirdre, some of the stuff that you read in that bit of the magazine. I think sometimes when I bought that publication, which won't be mentioned again, that was the section I went to first, if I'm honest. That's probably.
But again, this is why we love it. Opinion. It's like, so Tulsa's saying that it's Paul Lambert. Well, he went on to manage Ipswich.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like for some people, that instantly means they're basically removed from history. Like, you forget about them. Whereas, in the context of purely for the time he was at Norwich City, he was the best manager. That's fine. That will always be the same. But other people would say, well, instantly no, because he went on to
but equally after Norwich, I'm like, we're going down rabbit hole here, but without Culverhouse and Carcer, was he as successful?
No.
Nope.
No, someone's put Ken Brown. But I think a lot of it is, it's successful in the sense of obviously winning trophies and stuff. But I mean, for pure talent and pure man management and pure, CV, where he's won stuff at
Monaco, Club Bruges,
won stuff at competed in the Champions League. I mean, how many of our managers have ever been in the Champions League? So face value, that's my opinion. I just think he is, but I get what people are saying. I think for him to be officially regarded as our greatest ever manager, he needs to go on and do something with us, because obviously that's what people, as you say, Phil, that's what people care about is Norwich, isn't it? So, right, should we move on to question 3?
Go on.
Okay. When covering Norwich City Football Club. How do you balance being close to the club while still asking the difficult questions supporters want answered? I think you probably covered some of it already.
Yeah, I think it's quite easy actually, because I'm employed as a journalist, and I know that, and I go to work every day, and it's reinforced what our job is, and actually the fans keep you honest. They really do. Actually, we talk about social media and how people can get their views across. It is not lost on us what the fans are saying. Now, again, it's only what you can get hold of on X and Facebook and stuff like that. So I totally appreciate it's not what everybody is thinking. But Rob also goes down and does a Vox every home game and most away games and speaks to the fans. He doesn't speak to everyone. He can't canvass literally every single person's opinion. But we do get a really good idea of what the fans want answered. I mean, me and Rob Butler did the Mark Atanasio interview earlier this year. No, last year, sorry. When are we? Yeah, last year, I think.
October, wasn't it?
Yeah. And we had like hundreds of messages in beforehand about the sort of questions you need to ask. And loads of people were kind of like, well, come on, you got to ask a tough question. Like the first one I thought of, because most people want to know the most obvious questions. So, yeah, I think we're kept honest by fans, I think. And it's a lot easier for other people to get in touch with us and say you didn't ask the right questions. The only sort of other thing I'd say to that is I did a Ben Kensel interview earlier, Ben Napper interview. And a few people were like, well, you needed to be harder. You needed to be stronger. You needed to ask more questions. And you're like, well, I was given like 7 or 8 minutes and then told I needed to wrap up. I've not got an infinite time to ask every single question. You have to start with what you think is the hardest question, see how he reacts to it, and go again and again and again. So, yeah, I'm quite comfortable with where we sit on that. And I think as the club changes, and sometimes you see stuff behind the scenes that kind of really reminds you that it's a bit of a game, it's a bit of cat and mouse. And fans don't always see that. And this is not like some revelation that I've got to report, but you do remember, and also working in an office full of journalists, they keep you honest as well. And you remind yourself that you're not there to be best friends with the club. It's great that the club, and we've got an amazing relationship with the club at the moment, and that's so good. But sometimes that's almost when you need to be even more aware.
Yeah.
Because actually, so the press officer, for example, Dan, he is fantastic. He's the best press officer I've ever worked with, and he's really honest and he's really genuine. But I remind him sometimes that I know who pays his wages, and he knows who pays mine, and it's like he'll be, sometimes it's only never over anything big, but he'll be like, "Well, what? Don't you trust me?" And I'll be like, "Well, no." And he's like, "But we've got a good relationship," and it's like, "Yeah." But if there's something you don't want me to know, you're not going to tell me. Like, that's the game. Yeah. I get it. And it's not over big stuff. This is not over controversial stuff. But you do have to remind yourself sometimes that while we want the club to do, and I want the club to do well, I'll also be the first. I'm more than happy to ask a difficult question if I have to, because ultimately we're trying to keep them honest. That's all it comes down to. Not trying to catch them out to be Billy Big Balls and get my name in lights. I don't care. It's just to make sure that something bad doesn't happen. And ultimately my football club's affected.
Of course. And it's been a bit of a comedy season, hasn't it? In the sense of things that have happened, like obviously the moving the fans, the Nunes, the Sargent thing that's come out in the last month or so. And it must be so difficult when that's what people want to talk about and what they really do want to focus on. And obviously I guess sometimes you do have to kind of temper the expectations that you're not going to actually perhaps get the messaging that you need, I suppose.
Sarge is a good example because Philippe Clement said to us a couple of times in a press conference, I'm not talking about this. End of. And the way it works in like behind the scenes, if you like. So it's an open press conference to start with. So you all go in, you sit there, start off with it's nearly always the TV cameras first.
Yeah.
And then Paddy from the EDP will do his bit. And then so I'm sort of quite fortunate. I get to watch and see how it's all unfolded. and then I'll go up and everyone else has to turn theirs off, and we get a 1-to-1. It's part of our contract with the club. But if I've just seen him say, I will not be answering any questions about Josh Sargent. If you ask me that again, I'm going to get upset. Now, there are obviously times where you still have to ask the question, but am I going to go, right, first question, I need to ask you about Josh Sargent?
Yeah.
No, but whereas sometimes you put out the interview without that question on, first response will be, didn't ask about Josh Sargent. And that's not weak journalism. That's making sure that you don't piss off the bloke in front of you, that he goes, I said don't ask me any questions. Do you know what? I'm off.
Yeah,
sure. I've literally seen it happen. So it's knowing, and it's also how you do it. And it depends what stage of that saga we are at, because to start with, I would say, I know you don't want to say anything about it, but it would be remiss of me not to ask a question if anything has changed about Josh Sargent. And he would go, I've said I don't want to talk about it. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And there you go. I've done my job. There's the answer. It's on tape. I'm not hiding anything. I'm not trying to get away with anything.
Yeah.
And as I say, there are times when, so I think it was when, I can't remember exactly how it unfolded. There was a slight change. Oh, no, it was when the transfer window closed in this country. Yes, we knew that the MLS window carried on, but we went back and sort of said, the transfer window has closed in the UK. Is there any movement on the Josh Sargent? And he was like, I thought we'd agreed that, I'm not going to mention this until something changes. And you're like, I know, but something has sort of changed. And actually, Paddy got it in the neck a little bit from the manager. But, he had to ask the question.
Of course.
And he had to do the same as well. So there are times to be hard. There are times to kind of sort of go with it, if you know what I mean.
I absolutely love Paddy, but his relationship with Phil Clement is the most brilliant thing that has come out of this season. This is the only reason I tune into the press conference, is to see what's going to happen between them both, because it's brilliant. It's so funny.
But that's most managers know the game as well, right?
Course,
so they know it's cat and mouse, and it just depends how they want to play it. Like, I think Philippe Clement's an interesting guy, because you really do, like, when you go up and sit, a foot away from him, you kind of get literally a glimpse into his eye of what he is like as a manager. And he is one of those players, and actually we talked about him earlier, but Lambert was one of those managers that I spoke to on a regular basis, and I was quite a young, bit green journalist. And I remember spending Friday nights or Thursday nights before a Friday press conference, crapping myself, thinking, what am I going to say? Because he used to almost pick on a different person every week.
Yeah.
And I remember him tearing Michael Bailey apart because he had some slightly quirky shoes on once upon a time. And I mean, they weren't even that quirky, but he was like, what the hell are you wearing? What are you doing there? And you'd just be going, I'm glad it's not me. And then the next week it'd be another bloke and another bloke, and you'd sort of go, it's only a matter of time till it's mine, and because he had that kind of aura about him of just being in charge. And Philippe Clement's got it as well. But at the same time, I'm a much bigger boy now, so I'm a bit more comfortable in my own skin. That I know that it's not personal, it's just part of the game.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'd say you look like an American film director, Phil.
Yeah. Thanks.
The cap and the hoodie and stuff like that.
Right, go on then, Morgan.
I don't wear this to press conferences, so this is very much killed out at home.
You don't need to explain yourself to me. I'm holding a little llama. So from your perspective, so professional on this fucking podcast. From your perspective, what does the club need to get right over the next year to move forward successfully?
Well, the first thing is, and it's a serious point, that they need to sort their injuries out and sort of get to the bottom of whether it was bad recruitment in a number of instances. Right, this is at one point it got blown out of proportion, and there's been another few instances recently where injuries have happened, and they're it's sort of part of the game. It happens. The ACLs that have gone. I don't think you can put anything on the club about what they've been doing, but I think there has been something with some of the muscle injuries. And like the Forsons, the Diallos, some of those injuries and the fact they've recurred are just a tiny bit concerning.
Yeah.
And I've got no idea what it's down to. I'm not trying to blame the medical stuff or anything, far from it. I think it is literally working out whether it was, hang on, have we got unlucky? Because it could be that. Is it the recruitment in these players? We didn't look into it enough before they joined, or is it because we've been training them too hard, or what? I'm not sure. But I think that just does need putting to bed. You do have seasons like it, and we all want to blame someone, don't we? And it might just be bad luck.
Pre-season, I always thought every single pre-season we've had for the last 2 years hasn't been good enough.
No,
and that's down to the standard of the opposition, them going to piss around in Holland with some inflatables, and it's like, let's build these players up to be championship ready, literally be championship ready, because they're backing out of tackles. We've fallen away in the last 10, 15, and this is pre-Clement, by the way. We're backing out of tackles. It was no fluke that we were conceding the most amount of goals in the last 5-10 minutes of games because they were knackered. And that's, if you think about it, I'm trying to think of a really good example, but I don't think I'm going to be able to think of one. But it's just what standard wear, isn't it? Like if a player goes out and isn't physically ready and physically fit to play a 90-minute game, they're going to go. The legs are going to go. And when you talk about muscle injuries, that's what goes, isn't it? And is it lactic acid build-up? Is it anything to do on that front? I don't know. I'm not a professional, but that, for me, they've got to look at their pre-seasons and get. And I think that's what I don't know if Clement's the right. He's certainly not not an expert in fitness potentially, but he needs to look at that and get those people. Well, he obviously clearly is, because he's obviously got them fit, isn't he? So something's happened along the line, but that's what, for me, cut a long story short, that's what they need to look at, is getting these players ready and building them up to not go down injured.
Because I think as well, like, let's not beat around the bush. Next season is going to be like, this season was a bit of a missed opportunity, I think. Next season, if you look at the teams coming down from the Premier League, let's say it's Wolves, Burnley, and I want to say West Ham. I mean, that's your top three, right? I mean, we're not like, I'm not a gambling man, but if I'm going to bet, that's going to be your.
I think Wolves won't be, mate. I think Wolves will fall right away, given the season they've had. I don't think they'll be anywhere near, personally.
But I think it's going to be tougher than what people think. And without being, I'm not being pessimistic. I already see that, we're going to have a great season next season. I'm like, don't underestimate what the season's going to bring, because not only that, but the teams that don't go up, the ones that, like, potentially Millwall, potentially Ipswich, potentially Wrexham, potentially Hull, whoever else, I really think we've got to get the training right, the injuries right, and also the hiring right. Like, we need to get in players that are going to help push us up the table. But I don't know. I think for me, I've got burnt by the last few seasons where everyone's like, our expectations are to, I don't know why it sounds like that, but you do. Our expectations are to finish in the playoffs. Yeah. And it's like, we've been so far off the playoffs. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, this will probably come out in pre-season when we do our pre-season, post-season review, Jez. But that's kind of my 2 pence for now.
Excellent.
Yeah, the only other thing I'd say is, and I don't know what is going to happen over the summer, obviously, but I think they do just need to make sure that they do have enough experience in the side, and I think it goes to show that every week we're talking about how important, how good Kenny McLean is. And I don't know what is going to happen with his contract. I think the club have got an extra year on him, an option. Hopefully, everyone can make that happen as far as, keeping him at the club. But I think Sam Field coming in, has been just a kind of one of those instant reminders of what a ready-to-go championship player is like. And we've got so excited, and of course we've got excited about spending money and on youth, and it was part of the club's drive to get the age profiles down for the entire squad. But I don't know that was all positive. because we know that it takes a while before youth can really show what it's capable of, and and get up to speed, especially for players that have come in. I mean, that's why like Toure doing so well was amazing, because you kind of don't expect him to hit the ground like that, really. And Makama's another great story, but he knows English football. He's moved from a million miles away, so all those things, those boxes are already ticked a little bit. It's just like we all love to see another foreign £8-9 million signing. We can go and see the YouTube videos of them banging in goals left, right, and centre. But actually, that now it's like you go and look at Sam Field's YouTube highlights. I bet they're not that exciting. But since he's been at Norwich, he's been fantastic.
Same with Ali Ahmed, though. I mean, like Ali Ahmed's come in and like he actually gets me off my seat. Like I'm like, oh my God, what's he gonna do now? How much should be? I don't even know what.
Just over $1 million, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And he's come in and he's been like, wow. I'm like, wow, this guy, like he looks like like me. Like I'm not very big, but like just storming it, and it gets me off my seat. And then we spend 7-8 mil on, and I'm not beating him with a stick. So all 5 of our viewers, please don't think that. But like Jurasek, Ali Ahmed's come in and is like, who cares? Jurasek, this guy's like 21 and he's some kind of like prodigal genius. And he's been out injured or not been played for like 2 years. Anyway, sorry, am I being controversial, Jez?
Paris Magoma. What a player. What a talent he is, that boy. Right. No, you're not being controversial, Morgan. You're being representative, I think. It might be quite a good word to use. Right, Phil, before we'll hand over to Morgan for this week's random question of the week, which is always a sight to behold. I hope he's sitting on a spinny chair tonight. After all the years covering the Canaries, what still excites you most about match days at Carrow Road?
I think just the fact that anything can happen. I mean, it's Norwich City, isn't it? So anything can happen still. I mean, the Sarge stuff, that sort of came out of nowhere, really, didn't it? I mean, you sort of think, we've got an FA Cup game in the next couple of days. It's Walsall, okay, right, yeah, we'll see what happens. But it's a relatively boring sort of early round of the Cup, and then suddenly something like that happens. So you just never know. And when you think you've seen it all, something else happens. So I think that's what's so exciting about it. It really, and the fact that you get to go and watch your team play and I get paid for it, well, not rub salt in the wound or anything, but there is something about that, isn't there?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Although again, it is, I go back to it, it's like I was on paternity leave a little while ago, and towards the end of it managed to go and watch a game as a fan and have a few beers beforehand, have a beer at half time, have a couple of beers afterwards. We won. The sun was shining. It was like, didn't even need a coat on. It was like, it's a proper reminder of the difference actually between working and being a fan. And you mustn't forget that, because it was just such a good day going and properly living it, rather than having to sort of worry about what scores are happening elsewhere and the knock-ons from that sort of stuff. This is not a boo-hoo, by the way, but that it's the beauty. And actually, do you know what? I didn't really think about it like that, but that's the beauty of being able to almost take that hat off and put the other hat on and going and doing that. And I'm really excited about being able to take my son there in the future and stuff, and try and get him into being a Norwich fan, and my daughter as well. Like I'm really excited about being able to do that.
I mean, I want to throw that question to Jez, because so as I said earlier, I don't really do any of the social media stuff for this podcast channel. It's just not how my mind works, right? But so I get to go to the games and enjoy it as a fan. Jez, what about you? Because when you go to games, you're then thinking about all the other shit that you have to do to put out. How does it feel? How does it feel for you? Like, because I've never asked you that question before, and I think like after the last 16 months, it's a pertinent one.
other than getting my phone out to take the very occasional photo and video, which you kind of think that would be quite good on socials, and invariably the match day ones do very well for obvious reasons, I don't really think about it. That's my time to switch off and watch the game. And I think unless we see people that we know that we've had on previously, or someone that that I've just gone to football with for the last 20 years or whatever, I'm very much watching the game and just immersing myself in that experience. I'll be honest, I don't really think about the podcast other than that when I'm there, because I just think that's why I enjoy coming on a Tuesday evening and chatting for an hour to someone like Phil about what they do, and almost hearing their stories, and just the general fan as well. It's my connection to home. So obviously living 2 hours down the road, there's not many Norwich fans that live around here, so I don't get that opportunity to go and have a chat with someone down the pub about did you see the game? This is my opportunity to do that. So it's quite a selfish thing sometimes. I always look at that and think that's quite selfish, but if it gives someone that listens to this podcast the joy and the knowledge and the memories of when we talked about Wembley earlier, for instance, hopefully that evoked some really nice memories for people. So yeah, that would be my very long-winded response to that, Morgan.
It's very diplomatic of you, Jez.
Could work for the BBC, can I?
you probably not.
No, I'd say definitely not, to be honest. Phil, thank you so much. It's been great catching up with you and hearing all about your stuff with BBC Radio Norfolk.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Have a good rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. But we will not let you go without this man below us doing his random question of the week. Over to you, Mr. Morgan Hewitt.
Phil, I mean, it's been a long time, but you haven't changed one bit. I can't believe it. I'm still getting over that. But anyway, every week we do a random question of the week. Of late, we've also mixed it up with doing the random challenge of the week.
Oh my God.
So without further ado, let me get my notepad.
You didn't tell me I needed a notepad.
No, I've got the notepad.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Ready?
Yep.
Random challenge of the week.
Oh God.
Yeah, right. This is called fake news. This is called the random challenge of the week. Morgan's fake news. So obviously you work in media. Jez does whatever he does. You guys know what do you know the website or whatever it's called, what 3 words? So you put 3 words in, it brings it up. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to ask of you both, I'm going to give you 3 words each, and I want you to come up with a fake news story. You've got 30 seconds per head, and you've got 1 minute to deliver that news story. So I'm going to start with you, Jez.
Right.
Like, you don't have to give it right now. You're both on a timer. So your 3 words or 3 sentences or whatever are Rob Butler.
Yeah.
Norwich Castle.
Yeah.
And a rubber dinghy. Phil?
Right.
Yours are...
I thought you said these were fake. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's happened.
Phil, yours are Rory McConville, Prince of Wales Road, and a sombrero. You guys have got 1 minute. Let me time this.
So hang on. Are we writing it, or are we just thinking of it in our head?
You're thinking of it in your heads, and you're delivering it as a news story. So like what they deliver on the hour on BBC Radio Norfolk. You've got 1 minute to both of you to come up with a news story, a sexy one, and then I'll judge which one's best. Ready for this? I'm going to put the time's going down now.
Right, you got to feel for a minute then, haven't you? Because otherwise there'll be silence.
So it's really good to be here with Phil Daley, who I went to sixth form college in Durham with. Me and him got to know each other via a very tight computer room with a bunch of other people who like computer games and so on. Planetarian was one of the things that we played. It's like a RPG online. I was not great at it, but I did okay. I got Phil into Rage Against the Machine. Battle of Los Angeles, Evil Empire, and Self-Titled. And I also listened to Craig David at the time because it was 2001. So it was an interesting time to be alive. Phil was always quite churlish, bit of a man about town. But what's changed? And we have. I could work on radio. I filled that 1 minute. Right then. Are we ready?
Hang on.
I'm going to go for Jez first.
Hang on a second.
No, 1 minute. You had 1 minute.
We can fill this out, though. We can just pretend I had a minute and I didn't. I actually had a minute and a half or something. I don't know.
That's not fair. That's not fair on Phil. He's a pro. Come on.
Well, yeah, I'm not.
Come on.
Hang on.
Can you deliver it in a radio voice? You have to deliver it in a radio style voice as well.
Yeah, I will. Hang on a second.
No, you've had you've had enough time. You're cracking on with 2 minutes now. So this is gonna detract from your final submission, by the way.
All right, okay, I've got it.
Okay, you go ahead. You've thrown that into ChatGPT, haven't you?
No, I wrote it on my notes so that I don't know if you can see. You probably can't see that, but it's definitely on my notes, and I'll send you the photo to prove it.
All right.
Ready?
Right then. So hang on, let me count down. 3, 2, 1.
This afternoon at Norwich Castle, BBC Radio Norfolk sports journalist and all-round nice guy, Rob Butler was caught in the castle keep putting washing up liquid on the stairs to lubricate the surface so his rubber dinghy would go faster. He was greeted at the bottom of the stairs by Chris Gorham with a cup of tea and a slice of lemon drizzle cake.
You win. I don't even need to do one. That's brilliant.
Go on, Phil.
I've literally just written like 3 words. So you're better prepared, and it shows the difference between you and me, how much preparation goes into your stuff. Norwich defender Rory McConville has admitted he is opening a Mexican restaurant after losing a bet. The restaurant on Prince of Wales Road will be open after he bet one of the other defenders that he would be player of the season in 2027. I don't know the name of the restaurant because I haven't been. It's yet to open. But he said it's called Arriba. I think I'm. That's not racist, is it? I'm not sure.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay, good.
I don't think so.
This is why preparation is a good idea.
I really don't know.
Oh no, Jez wins. Jez wins all day long.
I don't know. I quite enjoyed yours, to be honest. That's incredible. You say sombrero, though.
Well, it's a Mexican restaurant because of the sombrero. Yeah, you've got to wear one in a Mexican restaurant.
Of course.
Come on, goes without saying.
You're thinking of Pedro's in the old Castle Guard.
It's gone. It's not there anymore.
Is it gone?
Thank God. Yeah, Cafe 33. There are other cafes available. I think for me it was Jez's erstwhile delivery that just swayed me. And also the ridiculous nature of what he came up with is the sort of shit that we peddle on this podcast.
Lubricating the steps was a good touch. That was nice,
wasn't it?
It's just, when we were talking about Chris Gorham painting a picture earlier.
I actually got
a picture of that. Rob Butler going down in a rubber dinghy.
That's how he comes to work most days.
I think for me it's the lemon drizzle cake.
Chris Gorham at the bottom with a flask and this little thing of lemon drizzle. Oh my God. And you could do the voice for it, Phil. You could say, because you do a good impression of Chris, to be fair. So
what? Yeah, right. I think
it's
too
time.
Much.
Yeah,
That's
it's time to
much
wrap it up, isn't it? It's far too far too late, and Phil's given us a lot of his time. So thanks once again, Phil. It's been great.
Yeah, no problem. No problem at all.
Yeah,
I'm sure our paths will cross again in the future, no doubt. So
absolutely.
Anyone you want to say, give a shout out to before you depart?
No, just you guys. Thank you for having me. Very much appreciated. And
Anytime.
I look forward to seeing Morgan again in another 25 years.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be dead by then, mate. So
morbid. Well, you can't end on that, can you? So for everyone else watching, please do like and subscribe on our channel for more great content. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. We are partnered with Master Steel Pie Design and the Freemasons Arms Pub on Hall Road in Norwich, where if you are a YouTube subscriber, you get 10% off food and drink.
And lemon drizzle cake.
Lemon drizzle cake, yeah. I've been Jez Davies for the second time.
I've been the long-suffering Morgan Hewitt.
I've been Phil Daley.
And I've been Phil Daley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.